So this was just literally on my mind today because everyone around me right now, as far as my friend circle, even people I just associate with, they are either traveling the world or like they're on have great jobs and getting promoted. Just great things is happening. They're living their absolute best life. You know what I'm saying? So like when that happens for me personally, I like to rejoice in my friends and their success and even other people around me, because at the end of the day, what I do understand is that when it's your time, when the time that God has for you is gonna be for you. Don't ever feel weary or disappointed that you didn't make that promotion, or disappointed that you didn't get the raise, or you're not traveling the world at this moment. If it's something that you working for, you praying for, and you're adamant about it, and you have faith, it's gonna happen.
A few months before being deployed to Dubai, 28-year-old US Army soldier Angel Levine Connor flew home to Coco from Fort Sill to spend the holidays with her family and 6-year-old son, Stefan. She spent 2 weeks meeting with friends, sharing precious memories with her family and playing with her son, not realizing this would be the last time she would see them. A few weeks later, on the 28th of January 2020, Angel would return home again. This time in a flag-draped coffin carried by soldiers whilst her parents watched. Angel was born prematurely. Her parents named her Angel as they didn't believe she would survive. She grew up in Cocoa, Florida, and was a quiet, shy little daddy's girl. Angel attended Cocoa High. The tall, slim teen took to the basketball court, impressed the coaches, and became the basketball team's captain. She ran track and was known as a social butterfly who loved to hang out with friends, and on weekends, she would spend time with her family at church and sing in the choir. Angel also loved to style hair and apply makeup, often practicing on her friends. She worked to transform herself, and it showed on her social media. Angel graduated from Cocoa High School in 2010 and first joined the Army full-time in May 2011, and then the Army Reserves after having her son. After her time in the reserves ended, she was determined to be in the Army full-time to provide for herself and her son, the one person she cherished more than her military career. She had raised him on her own with the help from her parents. From a shy little girl to now this confident young woman, Angel knew who she was and was focused on getting into the Army full-time. Angel rejoined the Army full-time in March 2019 and was stationed in Oklahoma. Rather than disrupt her child's schooling, her grandparents stepped up to care for him in Cocoa. As Angel settled into her routine at Fort Sill, she would speak to her son through FaceTime, checking in to ensure he was doing his schoolwork and doing well. She would often send him packages full of gifts. While stationed in Oklahoma, she met 23-year-old soldier Richard Rashid Smith. The couple would often hang out at Angel's apartment. Angel often cooked for him, and he even spoke to her parents on the phone. On the 18th of January 2020, at around 2:30 a.m., Lawton police responded to a shooting at an apartment. They initially heard 2 shots, then 3 more when they arrived at the complex. Officers saw Richard running away from the scene. He was apprehended and taken into custody at gunpoint. They found Angel suffering from a gunshot wound.
A man has now been charged for killing a soldier stationed at Fort Sill. Richard Smith is charged with first-degree murder, domestic assault and battery, and reckless conduct with a firearm. It happened last Saturday at an apartment complex on Southwest 52nd Street in Lawton. He's accused of killing Angel Connor, who was stationed at Fort Sill. Smith reportedly told investigators it started as a domestic argument before Connor punched him and pulled a knife on him.
That's when they say Smith pulled out a gun and shot her. She later died during surgery. Investigators say an officer heard 2 shots coming from the apartment complex, and when he got there, he heard 3 more and saw Smith running with a gun in his hand. He then had to force him to the ground. Smith's bond has been set at $2 million.
Brevard County parents are heading to Oklahoma this week, hoping to get justice for the death of their daughter who was murdered while serving in the Army. Angel Connor, who grew up in Cocoa, was shot to death in January of last year in Lawton, Oklahoma. The man suspected of killing her is set to go to trial this week. Channel 9's Jeff Deal is live in Cocoa. And Jeff, she was just 28 years old.
She was, and her parents told us they never expected she would go before them. And this was actually her second enlistment in the Army. The first time was right after she graduated high school here at Cocoa High in 2010, where she was in the junior ROTC program. She ran track and was a captain on the basketball team. She had a bright smile and was always driven to do better, to be better.
Every Sunday we went to church. She sung in the choir. She had a very beautiful voice.
Gail Connor and her husband Jethro named their youngest daughter Angel because she was born premature and there were fears she wouldn't make it. But Angel Connor did. She grew up in Cocoa, graduated Cocoa High in 2010, and shortly after joined the U.S. Army.
She meant everything to me. That was my baby, my baby girl.
Her parents were proud. She gave birth to their only grandson, Stefan. After a few years of service, she joined the reserves and spent some time back home. Then Angel re-enlisted in the Army. She was living in Lawton, Oklahoma, outside Fort Sill, when in January of last year, police say Richard Smith, another soldier she was dating, shot her 6 times in a domestic dispute.
We live her death sentence every day. Every day of our life, we live her death sentence. And it's the hardest thing to even get up and make a day.
Smith is charged with first-degree murder and set to go to trial Wednesday. Family and friends from Cocoa will be flying out there, praying they can forgive the man accused of murdering their Angel and hoping for justice for the young woman who's loved, honored, and remembered.
He just took her away from us just like that, and I mean, I can't even imagine living the rest of my life without my baby.
Now, family is hoping for a conviction on that first-degree murder charge and a sentence of life in prison without parole. Reporting live in Cocoa, Jeff Deal, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Doctors worked to save Angel's life. Sadly, she died during surgery. The police said the pair were in Angel's apartment when a dispute erupted. Richard told police that the two began to argue when Angel punched him and pulled a knife on him. At some point, Angel was beaten in the face and head. Family members said her eyes were blackened, her jaw was swollen, and her nose was bruised. Richard had retrieved a handgun. He chased and shot Angel multiple times. She ran out of the apartment until she collapsed. Her sister said she had been shot at least once in the back of the head. According to Angel's mum, Gail, she could still talk and was able to say that Richard did this to her. He shot her as she ran downstairs and out of the apartment. Angel and her mother had spoken less than 3 hours before the shooting and said "I love you" before ending their call. Angel's family have struggled to come to terms with not only that she's gone, but that she died a violent death. Angel's parents decided to have an open casket with Angel's face covered with a veil. They wanted people to see what happened to her. More than 900 people, including friends, classmates, soldiers, and others, attended Angel's funeral. As the family gathered around the casket, a soldier presented Stefan, Angel's son, with an American flag. According to Angel's sister Jessica, Stefan is still not taking it well. She said he's still trying to FaceTime his mum. He looked at me and said, "Mum won't answer." Angel's family have so many unanswered questions. Angel's mother said, We want people to know that this can happen to anyone. There's got to be some good that comes out of all of this. But for me, I need to know from him, why did he do this? What did she do so badly that you would shoot her? Why was he shooting at her while she ran? The trial took place at Fort Sill, where Angel was stationed in the Army. It took the jury 35 minutes to find Richard Smith guilty. He was sentenced to life without parole. The family struggles to navigate the remaining emotional minefields, including birthdays, holidays, and other gatherings. The struggle includes securing visitation rights to see Angel's only son, who was raised by Angel's parents at the time of her death, but is now in the custody of his father in North Carolina. Sadly, 3 months after sentencing, on Angel's birthday, Angel's father, Deacon Jethro Connor, passed away. My sincere condolences to the family and friends of Angel. I can only imagine her mother Gail and her sister Jessica's grief, losing her sister, daughter, husband, and father within 2 years. May you continue to heal and someday find peace. Rest in peace, Angel.